Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Overall Good at Educating. Today we will be learning the lesson Life Process Part 3, that is about the respiration. In the previous classes we learned about the nutrition in plants and nutrition in animals. The second part we have is respiration. You know everything, respiration is a process by which food is burnt in the cell of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. It takes place in the mitochondria of the cell. We have already learned about this in the part 1 lesson about the respiration. Respiration is that in which food is burnt, okay, in the cell with the help of the oxygen. Why the food is burned? The food is burned to release the energy in the body, okay. It takes place in the mitochondria of the cell. Mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell. The energy released during respiration is used to make ATP molecules. ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate, and ATP molecules adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate, okay. The energy released during respiration, the respiration whatever the energy is released, okay, it is used to make what? It is used to make the ATP molecules. ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate and ADP is nothing but adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate. You can see here ADP plus phosphate give rise to what? Energy from respiration with the ATP. Okay, in the presence of energy, what is happening in the respiration? Energy is stored in the cell in the form of the ATP. Whatever the food what you are eating, okay, and that food is stored in the body or in the form of what? ATP molecules, okay. When the cells needed energy, ATP is broken down in the presence of water to form ADP and energy is released, okay. Whenever our body needs energy, the ATP will break down into small pieces, that is it will break down in the form of ADP, okay, plus energy, and again it is utilized by the body for the rest of the process, okay. In this way the respiration takes place. We have different types of respiration also is present, okay. Respiration is nothing but the process by which food is burned inside the cell, that is food is burnt in the cell with the help of the oxygen released in the energy, okay. And this is done in the mitochondria, and mitochondria is called as a powerhouse of the cell. ADP plus phosphate give rise to ATP. Again ATP is divided into ADP plus energy. This equation you have to remember about the respiration. Next we have types of respiration. We have mainly two types of respiration. One is aerobic and one more is anaerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? Takes place in the presence of oxygen. The respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, okay. It produces more energy. The end products are carbon dioxide, water and energy. It takes place in most organism. Aerobic respiration is nothing but the respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen, okay, and it produces what? More energy. The end product are carbon dioxide, water and energy. It takes place in most of the organism. In aerobic respiration, what happens? Glucose is converted into pyruvate in the cytoplasm in the presence of oxygen, and then in the presence of oxygen, pyruvate is converted into carbon dioxide, water and energy in the mitochondria, okay. What is happening? Glucose is converted into pyruvate. Pyruvate, when it is converted in the presence of oxygen in the cytoplasm, okay, and again that pyruvate is converted into CO2 plus H2O plus energy in the presence of oxygen, and it is converted in mitochondria. First happens in the cytoplasm and second happens in the mitochondria, okay. This is about aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration happens in the presence of oxygen. Glucose is converted to pyruvate in the presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, whereas again pyruvate is converted to CO2, H2O and energy in the presence of oxygen, and it is happening in mitochondria, okay. Next is about anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic in the means we can tell that absence of oxygen. It produces less energy, okay, whereas aerobic will produces more energy. The end product are lactic acid or ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. It takes place in muscle cells and yeast. So where it takes place, it presents in the muscle cells and yeast, okay. Anaerobic respiration means respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. There will be no oxygen. Here, glucose is converted into pyruvate in presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, whereas pyruvate is converted into lactic acid and energy in the absence of oxygen in the muscle cells. First happens in the cytoplasm, then happens in the muscle cells. In cytoplasm, oxygen will be there, and in the muscle cells, there will be no oxygen. Okay. In this way, what will happen? Anaerobic respiration takes place. Again, anaerobic respiration in yeast, glucose is converted into pyruvate, and in the absence of oxygen, pyruvate is converted to ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. The process is called fermentation. So there is a flow chart here. Glucose in the presence of oxygen, what it does, it will happen convert into pyruvate in the cytoplasm, and again that pyruvate will convert into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy in the absence of oxygen, or in the yeast it is done. Okay. Same we have for the first step is same, that is glucose will convert into pyruvate, presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, and presence of oxygen in cytoplasm. And again the second step, what is happening in the aerobic, presence of oxygen in mitochondria, and in anaerobic, pyruvate, absence of oxygen in muscle cells. And what is formed here? Lactic acid is formed with the liberation of energy. And in the last, even the fermentation process, what will happen is it will convert into pyruvate will convert into ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. It will happen in the absence of oxygen, and it will happen in yeast. Okay, this is about the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Next we have breakdown of glucose by various paths. Already we have learned that, but it's only in the flow chart. See, glucose in the presence in cytoplasm, it will convert into pyruvate plus energy. Already presence of oxygen in mitochondria, it will convert to CO2 plus H2O plus energy. In absence of oxygen, it will take place in the muscles, lactic acid and energy. Absence of oxygen in yeast, that is ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. See, this is very important. You will have the questions for MCQ or 1 mark question definitely, or you may expect the 2 marks questions also from this pathway of glucose, that is breakdown of glucose by various pathway. We have 3 pathway here we have learnt. Okay, mitochondria, muscle cells and in yeast. Next we have respiration in humans. The main organs of the respiratory systems are nostrils, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs and diaphragm. Okay. So here main parts are, first is nostrils. Nostrils is present in the two holes what we have in the nose is called as what? Nostrils. And then we have a cavity inside that called as what? Nasal cavity. Okay. And then we have pharynx. Then we have larynx, then trachea, then bronchi, then bronchioles and lungs and diaphragm. These are the various steps we have from where the respiration will takes place. Let us learn in detail. First, what will happen? Air enters through the nostrils. The air and the mucus traps the dust particles. So, what will happen? The small hairs present in the nose, what it does? It will, the mucus present in that and the hairs present in the nose will trap the dust. The dust will not enter inside our body. Okay. In then passes through the pharynx, then into the larynx, then trachea, then bronchi, and enter the lungs. In this way, it will enter into the lungs. Okay. The trachea has ring of cartilage which prevents it from collapsing where there is no air in the trachea. Okay. Then bronchi divides into smaller tubes called bronchioles with ends in the tiny air sacs called alveoli. The alveoli is supplied with blood vessels through which exchange of gases takes place. The alveoli helps to increase the surface area for the exchange of gases. So let us learn here. The air, whatever we take from the nose with the help of our nostrils, in the nose we have a small hairs and the mucus. That mucus and the hairs will not allow the outside particles to go enter into the lungs. Okay. Then again the air will pass. The air what we are taking will enter into the pharynx, then into the larynx, then trachea, bronchi, and finally entering the lungs. Okay. The trachea part we have the rings of cartilage, what it does, which prevents it from collapsing when there is no air in the trachea. Next we have bronchi. See, bronchi divides into small tubes called as bronchioles. What will happen? You can see here in the picture what is happening. The bronchioles are divided into many bronchiole tubes like structures called as bronchioles. Those bronchioles will end in the sac called as alveoli. See, alveoli is a place where supplied with the blood vessels through which surface exchange of gases takes place. Actual exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli. Okay, in the alveoli is supplied with the blood vessels. Okay, then what will happen? The alveoli helps to increase the surface area for the exchange of gases. So where the actual this happens here, this process, it will happen main in the alveoli. Okay. Next we have mechanism of breathing. When we breathe in air, the muscles of the diaphragm contracts and move downwards, and the chest cavity expands and the air enters into the lungs. You can see here in the picture 1, you can see that. Okay. Whenever we breathe out, what will happen? The muscles of the diaphragm relaxes. Okay. Then moved upwards and the chest cavity contracts and the air goes out of the lungs. Okay, you can have two different pictures which shows the breathing in and breathing out of the air. Okay, here in the boxes also one experiment they have given here, how the lungs are open and how the lungs are closed. In this way, mechanism of breathing takes place. Okay, air we breathe, the muscles of diaphragm, what will happen? They'll contract and move downwards, and the chest cavity expands and air enters into the lungs. In this way, what will happen? The mechanism of breathing takes place. Okay, hope you guys have understood the topic. So if you have any question, put a question in the comment section so that it would be solved in the next videos. Thanks for watching. Tune into my channel for more such videos. We will have in the next part 4 and part 5.